Orthodox parties. They have tried to become the heads of Israel. The difference is that they have not been able to reach the non-Orthodox Jew, and I have.
You have reached them, Rabbi Kahane, by appealing to what one might describe as people's basest instincts. You do that deliberately, don't you?
Now, I think that that's what you say. I have reached them because I have made a very clear statement that Zionism was created as a Jewish state, and a Jewish state means a state in which a majority shall always be Jewish.
Yeah, but in and of itself, Rabbi Kahane, in and of itself, sir, that is not, excuse me, in and of itself, Rabbi Kahane,
excuse
just one
me,
second.
However.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, let me ask the question, Rabbi Kahane, and then I understand.
No, but I have to answer your original question.
Then let's make sure you understand the original question.
All right, but I certainly do. I certainly do. And I don't appeal to anyone's basest instinct. What I say is that I appeal to their understanding that the state of Israel is faced with an internal threat, and that is the existence of Arabs inside Israel who don't want to see a Jewish state. Now, that's not a basest instinct, that's a survival instinct.
Yes, and if that indeed, Rabbi Kahane, were, and it is at the essence of what you are saying in your campaigns and what you are preaching in your speeches, I don't deny that for a moment. It is the manner in which you say it. Fundamentally, what you say is not all that different from what many Israelis believe. It is a Zionist state. It was intended to be a Jewish state. But the way you say it is markedly different from the way that your political colleagues would state the same case.
Mr. Koppel, that's not true. Not one of my colleagues has the courage to say, this is the problem, and the only answer is the transfer of Arabs out of Israel. Secondly, what do you expect me to do if I am banned officially by state radio and TV, and I can't appear on shows such as yours in which I can sit quietly and state what I do say? Is that a democracy?
Has it ever occurred to you to wonder why you're banned?
Yes, indeed.
Why do you think?
Because if I appear on Israel TV, as I am now, and present a reasoned view, then I'll have not only 10 seats in the next Knesset, but I'll have 20 seats. And Mr. Olmart's party, which was once a party of Mr. Rabbi, which once did the kinds of things that I say should be done, is terrified that I'll take voters from them. That's the reason.
Let me suggest an alternative theory. If you were to put forward your ideas in the quiet, reasoned way in which you're doing them right now, you wouldn't stir up those youngsters the way you do. You wouldn't get the kinds of crowds you do at demonstrations. People might not pay attention to you.
That's certainly not so. I would get twice the crowd, and furthermore,
why don't you try
I would
it
also
then?
Reach, because I'm not allowed to appear on radio and TV.
No. I mean, why don't you try it in public?
Try what in public?
Try the quiet.
Try what in public?
Try the quiet, reasoned approach in public.
My dear Mr. Koppel, in Israel, at a public rally, nobody tries a quiet, reasoned approach. Everyone at rallies are not lectures. A rally is a place in which one does try to reach the crowd, and you reach a crowd, not a quiet lecture.
But if
I think that
by trying the quiet, reasoned approach, if by using somewhat less incendiary language, Rabbi Kahane, you might have access then to Israeli radio and television, wouldn't that be worth the price for you?
No, because I was banned from Israel radio and TV long before this year. So therefore, I think what has to be made clear is that Israel is not a state in which all views can be heard, whether quietly or not quietly. Israelis, especially those who are in power, fear my asking them the following question: do the Arabs of Israel have a right in a democracy to sit quietly, democratically, and have enough babies to be the majority? They're afraid for me to ask the question. Israel at this moment, without Kahane in power, has a law which allows only Jews to become a citizen just by asking for it, and which doesn't allow non-Jews to rent state land. Now, those aren't laws made by Kahane. Those are laws made by the original Labor Party 37 years ago.
All right, let's take a break now. As correspondent Bob Zelnick noted earlier, more than half of Rabbi Kahane's new support in Israel comes from members of the conservative Likud party. When we come back, we'll be joined by a leading Likud member of the Israeli parliament, Ehud Ольмерт, who disagrees sharply with the ideas of Meir Kahane. Our New York studios is Ehud Ольмерт, a member of Israel's conservative Likud party and of the Foreign Relations Committee of the Israeli parliament. Mr. Ольмерт, let's get right to the central point of what Rabbi Kahane professes to believe and indeed preaches. The notion that ultimately the Arab population explosion is going to put Israel in a position where it may cease to be the Zionist state that it wants to be, where Jews will simply be outvoted in their own land.
Well, this is entirely incorrect. First of all, the Arab inhabitants, citizens in Israel are only about 700,000 out of over 4 million people. And the chance that they will become a majority at any time in the future is such a remote possibility that in no way does it justify the philosophy and the principles that he is trying to preach for.
That's begging the question. Let's assume for the sake of argument that in the next 10 or 20 years, instead of being 700,000, there are 1.5 million, 2 million. Enough that they would represent a considerable political force in Israel. Doesn't that worry you as an Israeli?
It definitely worries me. The question is, what is the manner in which you deal with this problem?
And what's your answer? I mean, Rabbi Kahane's answer is clear.
My answer is a traditional Zionist Jewish answer. And here I want to call for some attention. From the first day of the creation of the Zionist movement in the State of Israel, it was clear to all of us that there will be a minority of Arabs living in the State of Israel as full citizens, as they are from the first day of the state. Herzl thought about it, Nordau, Jabotinsky, all the ideologists of the Zionist movement from its first day. And the idea is that they ought to live together with us in peaceful coexistence as full citizens of the State of Israel. We hope that as the time passed by, many more Arabs, those who live in the State of Israel, will learn to live with us. And many of them indeed do.
As fellow citizens?
As they are fellow citizens.
With equal voting rights?
They are with equal voting rights.
And what if one day they are no longer the minority?
Well, you know, this is a possibility. We always relate to probabilities. The probability that I attach to this is such a small one that I don't think that I have at this stage to give a definite answer of what we may do at that time. I
mean, you see, you're facing a problem because you don't have any definite answers, and Rabbi Kahane does.
Indeed, indeed. And the danger of Kahane is exactly this, that he is trying to stir emotions and provoke the Israelis in light of a certain reality that we all live through, which is very difficult, very complicated. We have lots of tragic events with Arabs. There are many Jews who are killed by Arabs, innocent civilians, Israelis, who are killed by Arab terrorists almost on a daily basis. And of course, in the context of these events, when a person like Rabbi Kahane comes and provokes the emotions of people, it has some impact on them. Yet I think that the attempt made to portray Kahane as a major danger at the present time to the Israeli democracy is far from a true description.
All right.
Kahane does not enjoy that kind of support in Israel.
Rabbi Kahane, let's address them one point at a time. First of all, just the numerical point, 700,000 versus 3.2 million. It's not a real problem at the moment.
Of course not. And the rabbis say, who is wise? He who can see tomorrow. The question is, how many will there be in 10 years? And they don't have to be a majority. What happens when a third of the country, of the Knesset, is Arab? And let me say one thing here. The contempt that Mr. Ольмерт has for Arabs is incredible. There isn't one Arab in Israel who enjoys living in a state which is officially called the Jewish state, whose law of return applies not to him, but only Jews, whose national anthem speaks of the soul of a Jew yearning, and whose decoration of, whose holiday, freedom, Independence Day, celebrates his defeat.
Yes, but if those citizens, you'll have to forgive me because we can't, the program is limited in scope.
Yeah.
If those Arabs given all of those elements of the society that you state, are prepared to live with that and live with that as responsible citizens, who are you to say no?
But, Mr. Koppel, they have no choice at this moment. They sit angry, bitter, gritting their teeth.
But you're not offering.
Waiting.
But you're not offering them a choice.
But of course not, because I'm a Jew living in a Jewish state, and I want my state Jewish. I don't care what the Arabs think, because I know what they think. I offer them the only choice possible. Live happily with your own people in any one of your 22 countries, and let me live in my one country.
But you're talking about people, are you not, Rabbi Kahane, who in some instances have lived on that particular plot of land, not for a year, not for 10 years, but for generation upon generation?
Of
course. And if they want to live and abide by Jewish law in a Jewish state, who are you to say no?
But they don't want to. They have no choice now. The question is, how could the Jews have originally come to Palestine in 1880 and 1890 when these same people were there for hundreds of years? What right did we have to come to a Palestine with a majority of Arabs and proclaim a Jewish state? The answer is that we said this is our country. Now, 500,000 Arabs fled Israel in 1948. The pity was that all did not flee, and thus save us from a tragic Northern Ireland which is building up.
All right, a quick reaction from you, Mr. Omer. We're rapidly running out of time.
Yes, well, Mr. Kahane is trying to challenge the fundamental principles of our moral existence. National minorities exist in many countries, and Israel is not singled out in that respect. And ever since the creation of the State of Israel, we tried, and very successfully, to keep democracy in Israel while granting all the rights to the Arab who live with us as full citizens. And I believe that the overwhelming majority of Israelis from all sides will continue to seek this. That is, to live with Arabs together, to find some kind of a peaceful coexistence with them, which may then influence also those Arabs who live outside of the State of Israel.
All right, Rabbi Kahane, you had the first word. I'm afraid Mr. Olmert is going to have the last word because we're out of time. But I thank you very much for joining us, and Mr. Olmert, I thank you.